I love subscriptions.
Subscriptionize my life. Well, speaking of things that may or may not have subscriptions, we're not really sure yet. Apple has formally come out and announced that they are going to be using Gemini to power the new Siri. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys remember properly, 2 years ago now, when they announced the new Siri that we all got very excited for, we didn't really know how it was going to go, but then, they had the OpenAI partnership where you can, ask ChatGPT and you can send queries to ChatGPT. People are like, is ChatGPT going to be on device and is it going to power the Siri features? We're not really sure. Now, Google and Apple have issued a joint statement that say that Apple did a blind test and that Gemini provides the most capable foundation for our foundation models, which is ironic and funny. Yeah, they're also going to be running on Apple's private cloud compute, so queries won't get shared to Google and stuff like that, which is nice, and they get deleted off of Apple servers. We're still apparently supposed to see it this year. The rumor is that in the spring, some of the features will start to trickle out, and then the full-fledged, this is what it's doing, is going to come out at WWDC, only 2 years late. Mm-hmm. And I hope they also roll back liquid glass, but that's another conversation.
They're not going to do that.
Let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
You made a whole video about this.
I made a whole video about this. There's a lot of interesting thoughts floating around about what this could mean and what it definitely means. I think the most interesting one to me is Siri. Okay, it's actually going to finally have, because we keep talking about Siri. There's a whole bunch of Apple Intelligence stuff. We're just talking about the LLMs and the foundations behind Siri. Siri, bad now. Siri could be good soon. Exciting. And it will be able to do all of these things that Gemini is already doing and is already good at, which is very exciting. What else will Apple add on top of it? Because I don't know, it's not going to just be a one-to-one clone. It's a foundation model, and then they build a bunch of stuff on top of it to obviously build things like that feature from the commercial they deleted, where you ask Siri about some appointment or whatever. I don't remember where you were at a certain time on your calendar. Whatever that was happening, they got to build stuff on top of it and make their own features. What are those going to be? We'll see. The other one is, what else aside from the LLMs would this help with? Because I brought up in my video Circle to Search, which might touch this, might not touch it at all. But as of right now, the Apple Intelligence feature where you do a visual search of what's on your screen just does a Google image search, which is pretty basic. But what if it had all the Gemini goodness and you did true Circle to Search just like Android, and it could search anything. It could search an image and know what type of dog breed it is or what map location that event is happening at or all these other things. I think that would be really interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And then the other question is, what happens to the OpenAI integration with ChatGPT? Because as of right now, the way it works is this is very bolted onto the side. Siri does Siri things, and if you ask Siri a question that is too complicated or have multi-step or whatever, and ChatGPT would be better for it, which is lots of things, it will literally ask you, hey, can I use ChatGPT to do this? And you say yes, and then it does that query. But if you're getting the Gemini foundation model and Siri gets this huge LLM reboot, it will theoretically not ever have to kick out to something it can't do anymore.
Right.
So why would we have the OpenAI partnership anymore at all?
Yeah.
So that we'll see what happens with that.
I don't think we've ever really discussed how insane it was that in the settings menu of your iPhone, you could open a login portal to the OpenAI ChatGPT login website.
Pretty crazy.
In the settings menu of your phone. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You still can.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's an insane thing that they did.
When they announced all this and the ChatGPT integration, am I remembering correct that they said there would be other models that you could choose to answer some of the questions and in the future, and that would be a choice you could have?
So at the event at WWDC, there was a Q&A afterwards, and they said Gemini will be an option in the future, which never happened.
Yeah.
But if they're using it as the foundation model, theoretically, you wouldn't even need to do your whole model picker thing.
I guess my wonder was if they're trying to portray this choice that you have, would they keep a ChatGPT as an option to throw out to or have other options in the future? I doubt Google wants that to happen. I think most people think right now
the default
ChatGPT, OpenAI is going out the window.
Yeah, probably. It's just too much complexity. I think that they just don't want consumers to have to go through the whole model picking thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's better if it's just behind the scenes and it just does stuff and you don't even have to think about it.
Yep. That's how it is ideal for most people.
Yeah.
I'm sure Apple wants it to be as behind the scenes as possible. They'll make this announcement. Dub will mention it, and then probably never mention Google's name ever again.
It was about as small of an announcement as they could make.
Yeah.
This wasn't a newsroom post. This was like they gave one quote to one outlet.
It was on the Google keyword blog. But the blog was...
Well, Google made their post, and then Apple didn't make a post.
There was no Apple post.
We agree. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's a joint statement from Google and Apple on the keyword, and it was 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, it was as small of a splash as you could make.
Yeah.
So, and then I made a video about it, so there it is.
It is crazy, though, because, like, you would assume Apple is very, very used to making their own versions of things because they don't like relying on other people. And the most that they've relied on other people is using Google search for things, which they, notably, there was a lot of money that was flowing between those companies, which then they got sued for. So it seems like they would be less likely, especially for, like, the future of the iPhone to be powered by a Google model is going to be a recurring deal that they're going to have to keep making with Google until the end of time. Like, it doesn't seem like Apple is investing in making their own LLM.
So this is the last thought I had about this, is how much does that really matter? Like, I know we can't do this, but let's take the money out of the equation. Okay, you're using Siri. It's falling back on a device, a model on the device that happens to have been made by Google. Cool. That doesn't mean new users for Google. That doesn't mean new info or data for Google. It just means that that's where it came from.
Yeah.
And Apple still retains the user. They still have they control the user interface and everything. And so so if one day it happened to switch to ChatGPT, and if that's just as good as Gemini, the user shouldn't notice. It will still not have any of your history because it's not like feeding any data to that company. It's not any flow of users from Google to OpenAI. It's just the user keeps using Siri and it just keeps working. So how much does it actually matter outside of the financials that they picked Google?
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks because they have their private cloud compute thing, which is supposed to like not keep a lot of your queries and all that stuff. But at the same time, part of the new Siri features is that it remembers things about you and then it dynamically like suggests you things and puts things on your calendar for you. So that's something in which it's going to have to like retain a certain level of information. And then the question mark that I have is like, is that information just retained locally on the device, and can that easily pass to a new model that gets pushed to the device?
Probably not pass to a new model, but I think that will be the idea, is like Apple builds all their functionality on top of this model that happens to be Gemini, but the point of it being Gemini is it's just way more information and way smarter. So then, they can build their like look into the user's apps and this have all this data happening locally and be really helpful. But like that's not showing up as like a Google user or anything like that. It's just a statement that Google's the best one and that's the one they picked.
Yeah.
Which is like a big deal for people who follow the race and which one's better, which one's number one. But after that, it's like, yep, okay, Siri's going to be better now. Great.
It is interesting that Apple didn't decide to invest in this whole AI race compared to everybody else. Everyone thought they were going to buy Anthropic for a long time.
That would be an investment.
They should have done that like 2 years ago. I don't think Anthropic would sell to them at this point, but...
Yeah, it's a statement about how much Apple believes that this AI race is actually a meaningful race to be involved in.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if they never decided to build and ship a search engine, that just means they figured it was never going to be worth it to Apple. That doesn't mean they don't think search engines matter. That just means they don't think it's worth it to be involved in that business.
Well, and the metaverse, remember? Like,
and the metaverse.
They were like, they already got...
Didn't Meta just fire a huge amount of people?
Yeah, they
because they're just like giving
cut a bunch of funding to the metaverse division, and there's like 100 people that are still using division. It. Yeah, but I mean, Apple notably did not invest in that because they thought it might just be a fad, and then they notably did not invest in AI because they thought it might just be a fad, or at least the LLM like hype wave. Now I think that they are like, okay, well, we have to do this, but it's still surprising that they haven't tried to build up their own infrastructure.
It's also on the back of like, it's not just a fad, it's a fad that could potentially help a product that they've had that's been terrible for a while. So like, I guess it links a little closer. But at a certain point, people are still buying iPhones and using garbage Siri. Is it easier to just continue to be like, no, Siri will be good one day?
Yeah, it's
pay
fair.
up
And how many
year.
regular users actually are like, oh, Siri's bad, and that's why I'm going to buy a Google phone? Like, I don't really know how much swing
Very
that
few
has.
people.
Yeah.
But I think Apple at least sees the writing that there are people who are like, look at all these cool things that Circle to Search and Gemini and all these AI like built-in features on Android phones is doing.
Yeah.
At least we can match that.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that's not a reason why you're leaving the iPhone.
And the fact that they announced it very publicly and made advertisements around it and then haven't been able to deliver. And
That's
they're
true.
Very embarrassed.
Clearly planned on delivering. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The only other connection I can make between businesses / fads that Apple has decided not to invest in, which at this point is just search engines and their AI foundation models.
And multiple wireless chargers in one.
and the metaverse. Oh yeah.
Well, I guess between those two is
Air power.
Those two are reliant on all of this data, and Apple's thing is privacy and not sharing user data.
For sure.
And so if you're Apple and you're going, should we invest a ton in building our own foundation models and competing with OpenAI and all these companies that are just inhaling data?
Mm-hmm.
No, because that's not in the wheelhouse of like how they make money or what they do. And same with a search engine. Like Apple could build the UI to a search engine, sure, but all the other things that make a search engine good are not things that Apple really does.
Yeah. Google makes money on data. They don't care about the Pixel. Apple makes money on the iPhone. They don't care about the data.
Yeah.
And that is basically it boiled down.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. Now that you've watched this part of the main podcast, go watch the whole episode. The Waveform podcast is much longer than these smaller clips, as you know. Check it out.
Yeah.